It works. It works, Captain. Climb quickly. Dan shouts, his voice filled with excitement as he glances at Alan and urges the captain. Let the kid go up first, the captain commands, struggling to speak. Alan knows he must act swiftly. His chi is of little use now, and climbing the tree to release arcane energy is his best option. Without hesitation, he grabs the rope and begins to climb. Alan's strength allows him to ascend the tree rapidly. As he reaches a good height, he starts using arcane energy to help those below fend off the wolf pack's attacks. Captain, hurry up, Dan yells. Without Alan's arcane energy as a barrier, the wolves attack with increased ferocity, and the captain barely manages to hold them off. The captain doesn't delay. Understanding that any hesitation could lead to disaster, he releases his remaining key to fend off the beasts, then grabs the rope and struggles up the tree, leaving a trail of blood. Red, your turn. Dan calls out. Red, shorter and struggling, is knocked down multiple times by the wolves. When he finally makes it to the rope, he is severely injured. Black, your turn, Dan instructs. With Red on the tree, he directs the exhausted Black. The rope can support several people, but someone must fend off the wolves or risk being knocked down. Just as Dan speaks, a massive wolf lunges and bites off Black's left arm, blood spraying onto the surrounding wolves. Black screams in pain, nearly fainting. Black! Hold on to me! Baldy shouts, rushing over with his sword to clear a path. He grabs Black, but in the process his back is slashed open. Baldy roars in pain as he fights off the wolves, but they continue to attack his legs, tearing at his flesh. Get him up quickly, Dan commands. But just as Baldy helps, he is overwhelmed by 5 wolves. His limbs are skinned alive and blood splatters everywhere. Whoosh! As Baldy is about to be devoured, Alan's windblade spell strikes, hitting the 5 wolves and disorienting them. The wolves' attacks pause, giving Dan a chance to reach Baldy. He helps Baldy and throws the barely conscious Black onto his back. Despite his severe injuries, Baldy manages to climb the rope with Black. As Baldy nears safety, a wolf leaps up and bites into his already bloodied leg. Baldy's face reddens with pain and effort as he struggles to hold on with his bloodied hands. Seeing Baldy's struggle, Alan grows more anxious. Dan is fighting off a dozen wolves, but is now heavily burdened, slowing him down as several wolves cling to him. Alan decides against using arcane energy. Instead, he unties the rope from the tree and instructs the captain and Red, grab the rope together. The captain and Red understand and shout to Dan, Dan, grab the rope. Alan, the captain, and Red secure the rope around the tree trunk and jump down, tightening it. The rope yanks Baldy, carrying Black, upward. Dan uses his last reserves of chi to fend off the wolves. Exhausted, he bites down on the rope and is pulled up by the ascending rope. Hold on. The combined weight of the 3 at the top is lighter, causing them to sink. The captain uses one hand to drive his sword into a crack in the rock wall to stabilize their position. Red follows suit, anchoring his sword into the wall to prevent them from falling. The cold mountain wind howls as they cling to the rope, high above the cliff. Blood drips from their bodies, falling into the jaws of the frenzied wolves below. The scent of blood makes the wolves even more vicious. What do we do now? Red asks. If the wolf pack does not retreat, they will eventually exhaust themselves. Each member is gravely wounded, and if they don't stop the bleeding soon, can Baldy hold on? The captain inquires. Baldy, in the worst state, hangs on by his arms, with Black on his back and Dan biting the rope below. If one of them fails, the balance will be lost, and everyone will fall. Baldy doesn't speak, only nodding weakly. Dan has managed to climb a bit, but he is barely holding on. If the wolves figure out how to climb, Dan is doomed. Alan, can your wind arcane energy lift a person? The captain asks, his sword hand trembling under the weight. No, Alan replies. His whirlwind spell can only lift small children, not adults.